on the West Coast in Oakland, killed by Johannes Mesley, the police officer, on January 1st, 2009. One of the most important things my comrade here was speaking about was you having your cameras ready when you see an officer pull over a person of color.
Shoot back.
Had it not been for the community, none of us would know who Oscar Grant is today. If you don't know who Oscar Grant is, I suggest that you go home and Google his name. It was the first time in the state of California that a police officer was charged, arrested, and convicted.
Ever. That's right.
That is historical. We need to remember that because the opportunity exists for it to happen here. On January 1st, what happened was Oscar and his friends were detained. Oscar's dad was put on the ground. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but he was put on the ground, face down, hands behind his back. Officer Tony Peroni, 6'1", 250 pounds, had his knee on his neck, pushing his face through the concrete, pushing the whole side of his skull. His side of his face was crushed. Johannes Mesley, the trigger man, is 6'7", 270 pounds, was on Oscar's back. When he initially was thrown to the ground, his arms was underneath his stomach, and he was saying, I can't breathe, with 600 pounds of officer on your back. Now let's look at what his size is. Oscar is 5'10", 160 pounds. He had 600 pounds of officer on his back. When he was saying he couldn't breathe, Tony Peroni then switched his knees and put the other one on his neck, giving Oscar a chance to put his arms behind his back. Johannes Mesley then stands up. Look at the video. His hands was crisscrossed behind his back. They were not handcuffed, though it will look like it when you look at the video. It was handcuffed. His hands was behind his back, crisscrossed. Johannes Mesley stands up and execute him, shoot him center mass in the back. Had it not been for those people on that BART train,
Video,
what they had saw as a wrongful act by this rogue police officer, we would not know who Oscar Grant is today. And that's so important because that same night, there were 3 African-American young men shot in the back. Oscar Grant, 22 years old, shot in the back, face down, hands behind his back, died. Adolph Grimes in New Orleans, 22 years old, shot in the back 14 times, died. Same night, about 30 minutes after Oscar was murdered, Robbie Tolan of Perry, Texas, another young man, on the ground with his hands behind his back, crisscrossed, shot in the back, and he lived. The bullet is in his liver right now today. You know, I'm real passionate about this because we're dying unnecessarily in this community at the hands of these rogue police officers that has no right killing our children. And until we stand up as a people and speak to this very issue, it will continue and it will only get worse. Malcolm X Grassroots Report just put out a report on July the 6th, sharing with us, and they didn't even get all the statistics right, but the numbers is important for us to hear. From January 1st of this year until June 31st, 116 of us, black male or black female or black child, has been killed by the police officers. What they're telling us, every 36 hours, one of us is going to die at the hands of a rogue police officer. So it is real important that we take a look at the statistics. You cannot find any black officer or officer of color with statistics killing men of color or a white boy.
That's right.
Anywhere in the United States on a consistent basis.
No, it don't happen.
They do the same job. So we need to ask this question. If they do the same job and they encounter the same type of situations, why is it that they're not killing our young children, whether they be black, white, or brown? There is something wrong. There's a culture of racism and hatred that's being exhibited by this rogue or these rogue police officers that we must address. And it's really important that these police officers that know the wrongs that occur within their precinct actually become state evidence and tell on them. Because what's happening is that the people, the community, don't see any of them as any good. One bad apple spoils the rest. And our children, I'm talking about our baby, should not be afraid of police officers. Tatiana, 7 years old. When she see a police officer, she says, duck. Duck. These children are seeing this at such a rapid rate. Psychologically, they're being affected mentally. And until we address this as a people, come out in numbers and let it be known that we will not tolerate it without standing up and speaking to this issue, and whatever it takes, we will do and seek to get justice. So it is really important to remember, it can happen. We can get justice. But if we sit silently and sleep on it and just say to ourselves, that brother that's pulled over there, what did he do? You know, don't say that no more, because he don't have to do anything wrong to be murdered by these rogue police officers.
Come on.
And so we got to speak to that issue on a regular basis. We will travel anywhere to support a family that has suffered the heinous act, that an egregious killing that we have suffered in a family, just like my good friend Frank Graham. We was in Chicago when we met Frank, and the pain of a teary-eyed mother brings tears to my eyes. And if we can't feel a teary-eyed mother cry when she loses, whether it be her only son or one of her sons, there's something wrong with us.
That's right.
We got to begin to feel this emotionally.
That's right.
And we got to get to a point to where we cannot sleep.
That's right.
We got to get to a point, young men, to stand up and become the maintainers of our community. We are the maintainers of our women.
That's right.
We have a responsibility to them. And we have a responsibility to protect our children.
That's right.
That is no ifs, ands, or buts. We have that responsibility, and the way I feel about it today, I will die. Let another one kill my mother. Let another one kill my sister.
That's right.
Let another one kill one of my child.
That's right.
Times has changed, and we got to begin to feel that and say no more. No more. No more. All this unjust killing that's happening in our community cannot be tolerated.
That's right.
It's happening at a rate that's unprecedented. We have the biggest prison institution in the world. 2.4 million men are locked up in this prison. Over 80% are black and brown men. We have more men today incarcerated than we have in colleges right now. We have over 1 million black men locked up and less than 150,000 in colleges. In 1980, before they instituted the drug war.
Crack.
Hear what I'm saying? Before they put crack in our neighborhood.
That's right.
Before they started selling guns to our children.
That's
Listen
right.
to what I'm saying, because this is real.
Yeah.
We had over 750 young black men in colleges across the United States. At that time, in the early 80s, we only had 150 brothers locked up.
50,000, honey.
150,000 brothers locked up. It has totally flipped itself and been reversed.
4 million.
This is not an accident. This is by design, and so it is important
And we start
that you
killing
pull your
ourselves.
cameras out and you shoot back. Take those videos, because those videos will save a family a bunch of grief. And one of the most important things, and I'll say this and shut up, because I could go on with this.
Yeah, go on.
Is Oscar, his very last picture. And none of us knew this, but this is how important it is. From the grave, he spoke to us. From the grave, he told me, Uncle, I didn't do nothing wrong. He took a picture of Johannes Medley with the taser in his hand.
Very
They
nice
made the
picture.
argument that he made a mistake. He pulled his taser out twice. And yet he died with a bullet in his back, and the officer talking about he made a mistake.
That's right.
His last picture showed the taser in his hand. Direct evidence that what happened on that platform was not an accident.
That's right.
It was not an accident.
It was murder.
That's how important documentation is when it comes to getting justice for our children. Thank God they had a camera there
That's
at
right.
Ramarley
All
Brown's
right.
family house. Thank
That's
God.
right. That's right.
But it doesn't end there.
That's right.
It does not end there. It's going to require us.
Stand up.
It's not to the swift. It's to
That's
who
right.
endure.
Yes,
We got
stay.
to come out. The judge, that's what he did today. It's just a playbook that they go by, because the whole thing is he's saying to us, I will make this case last 5 or 10 years until all of you go away. And then this family is standing by itself and looking for and nobody will know about it. We cannot let that happen.
That's right.
Had it not been for the family standing with us
Community.
praying with us, going back and forth to court with us, utilizing their First Amendment right to speak on our behalf for us, helping us come to understand that it could not be just us alone. It takes a community to bring about this change. And our hope and our goal is to begin to tie the knot with all the communities across the United States, because it's not until a mass movement begins and we continue to see on a regular basis numbers growing. Trayvon Martin sent a message out to us. Ramarley Graham has an opportunity to set a precedent here on the East Coast so that all families can see and believe that they can get justice. This is, and let's be clear about this, a racist criminal justice system.
That's right.
It is a racist criminal justice system. Let's be clear about that. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the only way we're going to get through this is going to take us as a village.
That's right.
Thank you. I love you. And thank you for supporting my friend and family.